All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to Mets Weekly. We are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to discuss the latest rumors, news going on in Mets land. Of course, we all know what we are talking about as we inch closer and closer to Juan Soto's decision this week. We still got some other reports that keep on coming through on the grapevine, but before we get into all of it, of what has been talked about these last 24 hours, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel if you have not already for weekly episodes of our show, the Mets Weekly Podcast, that is now recorded every Monday night, typically at 7 p.m. And once this saga with Juan Soto is over, we will get back to our regular scheduled programming. But for those of you watching on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future during the Soto saga, or in the future after that, or even before he signs, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live, as well as multiple videos that we like to put out throughout the week, all off season long. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns. We will try to bring them up as a mailbag style, as we don't have as much of a formulated show today. And of course, maybe some viewer questions towards the end of the show on some other topics. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, future content over there. And for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes of our podcast that go up at 9 a.m. the following day that they are recorded. So without further ado, let's get into the drama, the craziness, the saga. I guess this is what we're going to call it now, because this is getting nuts. We are getting reports of insane contract offers. We are getting ridiculous rumors, ridiculous reports. We are getting leaks now, which we will get into in a second, which is, I mean, it's getting crazier by the minute. And of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Frank. This is too much to keep up with. It really is just so much going on revolved around one player, that is Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have Carlos Mendoza's son as a guy to really keep an eye out for as far as where our news is going to be coming from in regards to Juan Soto and how it pertains to the Mets. So that shows just how unpredictable the offseason could be. It just feels like, especially when it involves the Mets, like it's always craziness. Like when there are other big free agents out there, do you ever hear about the owner's son saying the offer publicly? Not really. So it kind of feels like a little bit of a Mets thing, if you want to call it. It's just been craziness. And you know what? When you're talking about a player who was getting offered potentially 15 years, $700 million, it is craziness. You know what I mean? Like we've definitely, we know that, we acknowledge it, but once again, this is the reality of the situation, though. I mean, you have a really great player with a lot of big money teams interested in him. So this is what it leads to. You have Boris. I mean, you have like all the ingredients for chaos. And that's what we have right now, is absolute chaos. And like we said before the show went live, we just want it to end already. Like we just want some resolution and just kind of know, where is he going, for how long, for how much, and let's move on with the offseason, because it's just, like I keep saying, just holds everything up. I mean, you're staying up late at night, you wake up to craziness. Like it's just too much.
Yeah, it has definitely been a very trying day for me, because there's been a lot that has been going on in Rangerville. I'm also a big New York Rangers fan, so it's been very, very crazy over there. But we're not here to talk about them. Stephen Mack coming in saying, was the leak by an account named Han Jamin? I don't think so. But we all know that he has his Boris leaks, and we'll get into what John Heyman had to say. Of course, he's been talking everyone's ear off for, like, I don't know, the past month straight regarding any Boris leaks. And of course, Rosie coming in with Mendoza's son is in trouble. And for those of you who don't know, in regards to that, for those of you watching on Twitter, for those of you watching us on YouTube, let's catch you guys up on what happened last night. And to be honest, it was kind of weird, and I feel like we do need to talk about it in this regard because it has a connection to this organization. There also was another thing that just dropped on Twitter a few minutes ago. For those of you who are on Twitter, it's a cesspool of craziness. But when it comes to what happened last night, it happened in a TikTok comment section on the comment section of a specific man by the name of Adrian. Now I'm going to show everybody what happened last night. There was a man named Baty. I don't know who he is, but he said Soto to the Sox with a few explanation points and a skull, maybe trolling. I don't know. This man named Adrian decided to say that the Mets are offering him 700 over 15, so no. Somebody else backed it up in that thread saying that offer has not been given. 3 teams have offered 600 million and none are at the 700 mark. This Adrian fellow made sure to say basically, do you know who I am? And this guy responded right back saying basically everything that he sees in this guy's bio. And Adrian said, all right, just watch and you'll see. I guess you don't believe me. Now, why is this so important? This is just a random thread on TikTok. People have been debating so many times back and forth. The reason why this is so important is that this man named Adrian is actually, turns out, is the son of Mets manager Carlos Mendoza. Now, ever since that this happened and went viral on Twitter last night, which was pretty late at night, actually, when it went pretty viral. I'm pretty sure Frank was asleep when this happened. And he can confirm that. He deactivated his account on TikTok. So maybe something happened there. It gets very suspicious in regards to that. To be honest, right now, we know that Scott Boras have always talked about not being confident with anything that guy says. Anything can change at any point. But I'm going to tell you right now, Frank, I'm scared. I really am scared right now after I just saw what I just saw, because I do want to explain one thing. Yes, it's possible that it's cool that the Mets are being willing to go over the 700 mark or whatever. But when you know the Mets have been trying not to leak things out, and, you know, we've seen them do a lot of things behind closed doors. We also know that Scott Boras, you know, even though he doesn't negotiate in the best faith and he could be a pain in the ass, is it possible that he does not like this? And I'm not saying that this could cost us Soto, and hopefully it does not come back to bite us in the ass, because I feel like the money is going to talk either way, and I feel like Steve Cohen is definitely going to make a push still in the final hour. But oh my God, this is like this is getting crazy, insane, nuts. I don't even know how other adjectives to use at this point. It's getting insane.
Yeah, like I said, it's very unpredictable. I mean, you can't make it up, to be honest with you. You just really can't. First of all, a kid should be sleeping at that hour. We should not be on social media having beefs with people and arguing. But listen, I think little Adrian has some of his data. He's like, do you know who I am? So he's not playing around. I mean, the kid is no joke. So that part I found pretty funny. But overall, like you said, it is just very, very bad to have that offer leaked publicly. It's just really bad for negotiation, for leverage, because, you know, we've heard so much about, like, we're hearing that this team might have offered this and that team might have offered that. But when everybody knows the offer, all of a sudden, if you're a Boston, if you're a Toronto, a Dodgers, you're like, oh, so that's what they're offering. Okay, so now we know what we need to top. Potentially. Yeah. You would hope that Boras has already told everyone else what the top offer is that they need to beat. Yeah. But who knows? He could lie to him. He's like, oh, we have a 750 offer right from a team. He could say that to another team. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, anything is possible when we talk about negotiating tactics. But I think overall, like you said, there is a little bit of a fear that he could say, oh, well, you guys leaked our offer, so we're not going to do business with you. I could see that being an issue. But the solution to that is, okay, well, what if I up the offer? You might have to up the offer now. Because if they don't like it, you want to still say, I want the most money available, then you offer the most money available. If you have to increase it, you have to increase it. But I just, like we've said from other reports, I've said this, but it's like, if the highest offer is offered, they don't see them turning it down and going elsewhere. We don't see him taking less money to sign with another team, especially if that team is already competitive. So I feel like they might have to increase this offer. But in fairness, I kind of go to the top storyline that we have up here, where Jim Bowden says if someone offered Soto 15,700, they're getting him. You don't see another team offering that. Well, if they already have offered it, well, why is he not signed? So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm like, that kind of conflicts a little bit, because, like we've said, 15,700 seems pretty strong. Like, it's like
Yeah.
that's pretty close to getting it done. I know yesterday you mentioned like the 750, and it's kind of like I said yesterday, but it's like, what's that cutoff number? You know what I mean? It's like, if I'm already offering 700, if I increase it to 750, is Boston going up there with me? Are they going to come to the 750 range? Then I need to go towards 8. Like, I don't know. Like I've said, he's good, but is he like 100 million more than Otani good? Like, there's just, I don't know. Like, I really just don't. I know they're, like we've said, they're in so deep. They really want him, but I don't know. Like, there just has to be some number where, even for Steve
Yeah.
Cohen, he's like, I want him, but this is just dumb. Like, this is just not smart. He's great, but I feel like there has to come a point at just eventually, because if it just keeps going up, 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 like, what are you supposed to do at that point? I really don't know.
To
And,
be
also, one more
honest,
thing, Carson. I'm just sorry to
yeah.
cut you off, but I'm
Yeah,
just
go
thinking.
ahead.
That's all right. So, like, let's say, I'm saying, like, crazy scenario. Let's say it gets to 800 or whatever. If Soto gets off to a bad start in New York, getting paid 800, like, there's pitchforks. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting showered in booze. He's getting water bottles thrown at him. People are spilling their ice creams. Like, you got to do good if they offer you 800. So, like, that's a lot of pressure. I know he's good, but that's in New York.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. If it gets to a historic number, most of all time, like a team that hasn't won yet, like, it's a lot. It's a big ask. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I didn't even think about that. That's like, that would be insane to think about. And there's a lot that John Heyman did say in regards to what the offers may have to do, and then possibly upping their offer, because there are some factors that were talked about, and who knows, it may be just yapping at this point. But like, in terms of the number of going to the 750, or maybe even going beyond that, because getting to the 800 range, to be honest, I'm not really worried in any really sense, to be honest, because I will tell you right now, the Dodgers set the bed. We can defer so much of this stuff. Again, it's just like, I'm like, okay, what is 800 if 750 is not enough? Like, that's kind of how I look at it right now. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, this is a ridiculous amount of money. It absolutely is. But I mean, this is the game that the Dodgers started.
How late can you defer money? Like, can I defer it like 50 years from now and Steve Cohen's not owning the team anymore? It's like someone else's problem. It's like, oh, but we already paid it, so now you have to pay him. Like, I don't know how late you
Cohen
could defer
inherited
it to.
the Bonilla contract.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
so there you go.
That is true.
You
So
never know.
I don't know how late
mean,
you could go. Like, can I go 50 years from now and just be like, here you go, now you pay it?
give deferred payments to Juan Soto the third later
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, you never know, because they haven't put a regulation on it yet. They haven't.
And
the
you know
Dodgers
what?
have gotten away with
And
that
honestly, I would love to see the Mets do that, because then MLB would have to step in.
Oh,
and
no, that's when they're going to start to panic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need a Cohen tax. Remember, it's a Cohen tax.
Yeah.
We need a
Remember.
Cohen deferrals.
Always remember.
All of a sudden now we got to change rules,
Yeah.
but then that would stop the Dodgers from doing the craziness that they've been doing. I mean, I was looking at it today, but you're looking at the year like 2035. Like, all of a sudden the Dodgers have like an expensive
that's not
team
a real year.
of guys that don't play for them. Like, it's just craziness. It's so weird.
Yeah. So the I don't believe that this was his son's legit. And as for, we're talking about it for those of you who came in here a little bit late, we're talking about Adrian Mendoza, who is Carlos Mendoza, Mets manager's son, who went on TikTok last night or the night before, and people found it, of him talking about the offer of it being $700 million over 15 years. Yes, it is his. It is his account. It was taken down and it was deactivated, so that pretty much seals that it is his account. And also, we had like, I'm pretty sure in his profile picture, it was a picture with Mendoza. He even has like some videos of him playing catch with Lindor. So like, that's his son. That definitely is his son. And he definitely, and to be like, I don't know how old he is, but like 12, 13 years old,
Yeah, I think
double
he's
down
11.
like that.
I think
11 years old, double down like that and be like, you know who I am? Like,
he's so
all right.
Right. He could be
All
our
right,
manager
man.
one day. You never know.
Listen,
I like the toughness.
Listen, I like it, but in terms of good faith and negotiation, it concerns me. It really does. To be honest, and it's not really just to put the thought in everyone's mind, because I know everybody wants to stay positive in this until we get a resolution. But wouldn't it be such a Mets thing to lose a free agent like this because of the 11-year-old son of the manager of the team? I mean, that would be the most Mets thing possible. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the main reason as to why they would lose Soto, but I'm just saying, like, that is nuts. That is just nuts, and it just keeps getting crazier. I mean, the first thought that I had about this, and I don't know if this is the thought that you had, was the whole situation with Carlos Beltran's niece. That's what really got me when I think she like said that he was stepping down like the next day, like the day before or something, and information like that went out. And obviously during that, the Wilpons were still there, so they didn't really give a shit. But to see them try to keep this thing under wraps the way that they have, because we haven't really seen anything except the reiterated words of, well, Cohen's got the big money and he'll offer the best offer. Like, there's nothing, oh, he's talking to Juan Soto and he's going to his house. Like, that's about it. That's all we really had. So, geez, it's just to add more to the stress pile of this insane stuff. And it's almost just like if he doesn't end up a Met, like, you just feel like you wasted so much time. Like, to be honest, I feel like if he doesn't end up a Met at this current moment, I might have to take a break from the show. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because this is wearing me down. All right, because like, this is crazy. Every single second we have something coming out. I'm sure there has been 3 quotes since we started the stream that just came out from John Heyman, Ken Rosenthal, and some guy from ESPN. I mean, these are just the latest reports that we have on the side of the screen. But when it comes to John Heyman, I do want to get into what he said, because he did a big interview on the BR app, or Bleacher Report app, which sucks, by the way. But when probably shouldn't have said that. Anyways, he did say that there could be opt-outs in any deal that he does sign. So there was a clue in of that. The Dodgers being the lowest bid, still being in the 600 range. The lowest bid being 600. This is insane. This is nuts. And then the 4 other teams are in the $700 million range, which is kind of a boost up from what we heard yesterday. And then there was a few details that did get out in regards to the Mets side. With the Mets, there could be an issue with the roster around him, with there not being somebody to bat behind him in the lineup. So that sense of insecurity there, maybe. Heyman did talk about how the Yankees are not favored, but he does give a slight edge to the Yankees with all 5 teams being in play. And most likely the Mets are going to have to up their offer, which maybe seems like the Mets might have the final say here. But again, like I said yesterday, and this was towards the end of the stream yesterday, Scott Boras has the final say here. He is pulling all of the string. He's not forcing anyone to do anything, but he's maneuvering all of this. Okay, we all know that he is. This is how Boras operates. But this is what you hire Scott Boras to do. And when you're Juan Soto, a generational talent that you are, I mean, you're going to go through the entire extremes. When you do something like this. We'll see what happens. I'll go to some of the comments. Madeline coming in here saying, excellent podcast. Thank you very much. We just started here, so if you want to stay in store here. Will White saying the kid needs to stay in his place and not be reporting on what they hear in the house on social media just because. Yeah, it's not great faith. Let's just say that. Rosie coming in here saying Mendoza can't tell his kids anything anymore. Got to keep that thing under wraps. Absolutely.
Or he could give like a misdirection. He could be like, "Oh well, you know, we're giving Corbin Burns like 12 years," and then everyone just gets all confused.
Yeah, I just
like I hear Mike Trout's on the way.
Steven Mack saying kid might be looking for new parents soon. Oh, that's funny. That's really good. Nacho Libre saying, I don't believe Heyman about the Yankees at $7 million. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Again, I'm getting some of these quotes from some people on Twitter that are basically reiterating it. So I'm sure you can go back and you could see what he is reporting. And also, John Heyman sounds like he smokes 7,000 packs a day. So maybe some people hear him sometimes. Michelle saying, Soto prefers the Yankees, and at that price of $700 million, the most means nothing. He wants to be with the Yankees. And listen, I have been the main guy that has said my gut feeling is that he's going to end up going back to the Yankees. Like that has been my gut feeling that it's going to happen. We know that the highest bidder is most likely something that Scott Boras is going to try to squeeze out, but I do think that the Yankees, with the fact that they're trying to retain him, and the fact that, I think that there still is going to be somewhat of an edge there. But it's basically just repeating the same thing over and over again. Cohen's going to have to blow an offer out of the water, or make some team fall out there. CJ Crypto saying, I'm going to laugh when Soto signs with the Dodgers. To be honest, I mean, it would just be the great end to this ridiculous saga that, to be honest, has been going on for years now. Let's just say that, after him being traded twice, all of us anticipating his free agency at age 26. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. Carson is very invested in the Soto sweepstakes. Listen, I'm here to deliver the story of what's going on with my Mets, and this is all that the Mets really have to offer, except for some other news that we'll get into. But listen, I'm getting a little tired here. I am definitely getting a little tired. G coming in here saying, guys, don't forget the only reason why Ohtani deferred payments was because he already was receiving the equivalent and international endorsements. Yes, that as well. Then also, Soto is also a marketable player too. It's not going to be to the degree of Shohei Ohtani, but also the fact that Shohei also did defer those payments as well, so they can get more players as well on the roster, because I'm pretty sure his luxury cap hit I think is like $44 million. It's not $2 million, but it sounds like he is getting paid he is getting paid $2 million, but it's going to be the luxury tax hit of that. And they're deferring all of that money. But I mean, it's like the little simples of both. And obviously, Juan Soto is going to need to have definitely the ownership's ear in regards to some things as well.
Yeah. I see one
that
the Braves did with Bruce Sutter for 33 years for $1 million. So it's like you could push it back pretty far. And it makes a good point that like revenues continue to go up. So like if you're paying $30 million for somebody now, it could technically be less as far as how much it goes towards the tax later on. That $30 million is actually kind of a better deal than it is now. So there are some benefits to deferring if done correctly.
Yeah, I don't know if it goes directly to the luxury tax, or it's like a certain portion of it goes to the luxury tax in the future. I'm sure they're going to have to figure it out of what is going up.
Yeah, that's the thing too. That's the thing is that if they come to a new like collective bargaining, whatever, like they have a meeting, like some of these contracts are already done. So like, I mean, I don't know how they could prevent that. So like, how does that work? Because the Dodgers would be screwed because they have over $1 billion deferred, over $1 billion between everybody on the team. And they're probably not done. Like they bring back
Nuts.
Teoscar because the thing is that like they already did deferrals for Teoscar Hernandez this season. If they re-sign him, I think they're going to do deferrals again. So it's
I'm
like
sure they will.
I don't.
Oh no,
There's
they're going to have to get something in here to stop it of them doing that because it's getting ridiculous. But once the Mets do it once, to a high degree, such as something like Juan Soto or something else. Once the Mets do it once, that'll trigger that.
Oh, yeah.
We got to stop doing this.
Yeah,
because the Mets don't give them credit with anything, but we gotta put them front and center when anything, of that works. Jay Raider Nation saying Soto is taking his talents to LA. Listen, every team is a possibility. You never know. I like your name, by the way, if you're a Raider fan. We've got some tough times right now, but we'll push through it. Fellow Raider fans right here. Don't ask as to why I'm a fan of that team. Goomba coming in saying some fun math. Cohen makes $3 billion a year. That's $250 million per month and $62 million per week. If Soto gets $50 to $55 million a year for 15 years, that's only 5 days of Cohen's pay. That's liquid money, not assets. I mean, seriously, it's insane. It's nuts as to where we're like, okay, yeah, giving this type of money to this, and this number is insane. And to be honest, I think maybe 2 years ago, we probably thought, oh, well, maybe Juan Soto will get like $500 million. Probably he'll be the next $500 million man, or Shohei Ohtani will be the next $600 million man.
yeah.
Now it's getting to that point where like, holy shit. I mean, holy shit. We are at a ridiculous amount of, money that I don't think anybody would really be able to touch anywhere close to. But I mean, it is really, it's insane. Like I'm just out of words of how crazy this has been and how it has escalated. I don't even know what to say anymore. I really don't.
So it says that for when it comes to deferred money, you could space out as much money you want as long as you and the player agree to.
Okay, so basically, it's like a GTA money glitch. That's basically it. That's okay. Just wonderful, How long until Manfred is gone? 20 and 29?
Well, with this golden rule, hopefully he's gone sooner rather than later, because that is a whole other issue. We'll get into another time.
That is ridiculous, but we can talk about that at any other time. How does the signing bonus work? Signing bonus has you have your own signing bonus pool.
And Blake Snell got a big signing bonus from the Dodgers. I don't think there's a limit for that either. So that's what we're saying. And they're going to need to be creative. I mean, once you're talking about a contract of this number, you have to get very creative to not totally mess yourself up with getting other moves, because like we keep saying, even if you got Soto, it's like, okay, well, we still need a first baseman and a DH and a few more starters and relievers. And if we already have so much committed to one guy, it makes all those other things tougher to do. So you got to be creative.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I really, hopefully that this does end at one point. I mean, it looks like in the next 48 hours, we are going to get an answer of what is going to happen. I don't want to, go give into so much of the speculation, but there is one piece of data that I do want to stick out here, just for, everyone to see, which is not really, it really is not, what's it called? It really is not something that is to be, it's basically just to be taken with a grain of salt. Let's just say that. But I do want to put it up here on the screen just to show everyone, because it was accurate the last time that we used it, and it was a very, a very trusty thing. Now, for those of you who don't know what Polymarket is, it was used to kind of, it definitely accurately predicted the election. Now, whether you liked the election results or not, we're not here to talk about that, of course, because this is a Mets channel. But I do want to put this one on the screen just to show you guys. It's not really anything. Take it with a grain of salt again. It's probably mostly to do with betting odds or whatever. But this is basically what it's looking at the live of like, I don't know, like 3 hours ago. That's basically what you're looking at. 67% odds for the Mets right now. 30% Yankees, 7% Boston Red Sox, and it looks like the Dodgers are close to 0. You don't even have the Blue Jays on there. So that's very, very weird. We don't know. Some people are saying that the percentages don't add up here in the comments section here. So again, I'm just showing this up here. I'm not saying it is true. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that the Mets have some of the best odds to land Soto, and we know that the Mets, I do believe, will be in the top 2 here, no matter what. But we don't know if they're going to be number 1 or they're just going to be flushed down the toilet. Who knows? Be number 2. Okay. Anyways, as for some other things that we can put out here, I do want to add the one thing which I do think is very important here is, okay, so we did also get a report about Brett Baty drawing some trade interest. We've talked about Brett Baty many, many times. He's been a topic of discussion. And, you know, I'm not really sure what the trade value is or what they're really looking at this current moment, but when it comes to Brett Baty, I think that when we talk about the first base and third base situation, because this is also a topic of discussion when you're talking about the team around potentially Juan Soto, it's very weird, to be honest, at this current value that he is at. We're not really sure what he's going to be paired with right now. We saw this come out on the New York Post earlier today of him drawing some trade interest from a few teams. We know that the Marlins have been attached to him before. I mean, I don't think really anything has really changed, but of course we got to do our due diligence of what has happened recently with the trade rumors, of course. But when it comes to, Brett Baty, I think we all know what our thoughts are on this, but is there really anything that has changed? I don't think there really has at all.
Yeah, for me, I think if there's going to be any change in Brett Baty, there needs to be a change around him. So whether that I had made the suggestion of maybe a new coaching staff to take a look at him, see if they could tinker some things. Because the thing about Baty is that it's not like he doesn't have any talent. I mean, this is a little bit of a different situation. It's not like the guy is just flat out awful. It's just there hasn't been that major league consistency. So that's the issue. And I feel like if they could do some tinkering to where they get that quality performance out of him most of the time, he could turn out to be a good ball player. And he's been with the Mets, like we said, a few years now. He's gotten plenty of opportunities. It hasn't worked. So I feel like there's a much better chance he gets traded elsewhere, and you actually do see him perform better. So I feel like, for the Mets standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to trade him because it's kind of one of those things like we talked about with the trade for Eric Orsi and Jose Sierra on a lesser level where, like, it's not going to work out here. So you might as well just kind of get something back, trade him to an organization that could figure something out and you get something that fits your team much better, hopefully pitching, because as we said, we need rotation and we need bullpen. So I really feel like, I'm totally good with it. Mark Vientos won the job last year, so it's still his job as of right now. Would you like Vientos to be a DH? Sure. And let Baty be a third baseman? Sure. But again, I can't bank on that right now. I can't go into opening day saying Baty's my third baseman and Vientos is my DH because I just don't trust Brett Baty right now. He had too many opportunities. And like I said, Luis Angel Acuna did more in the major leagues than Brett Baty did in a much shorter amount of time. So, I feel like he's had enough games where if he was going to show something, he would have shown it by now as a Met. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah. I mean, we had John Heyman kind of retweeted saying Baty's power and potential is still intriguing to scouts, which I'm sure it is, but it really has not translated to the major league level, which I don't really know any team that would, try to acquire that type of piece. when they're trying to compete. Maybe there is a team that's young and wants to add in another piece for that and kind of just offload a contract or two. There are some teams that I think have some pitching contracts that maybe they could possibly offload and they can bring him in return. But to be honest, as to what I am seeing, when I feel like a lot of Mets fans, the thought really just goes to pitching when it comes to trading Brett Baty or trading a prospect for pitching. With what pitching costs these days, not just on the free agent market, but on the trade market, I don't think Brett Baty would make that much of a stamp in that much of a realm. Because like you add in Brett Baty, let's say you're trading for a Luis Castillo. You add in Brett Baty on your side, it's going to take a lot more than just Brett Baty to get that type of pitching. Maybe you get like a back end arm, like let's say it's like a Hauser type of deal. Like maybe that is like the 1-for-1.
I'd say a little. But
that's
more.
A back end piece.
Yeah, I'd say a little more than Hauser. I would hope. Not much.
You hope. You never know. You hope. But to be honest, I don't see it happening. I think that they're going to give him as many chances because he's, the golden boy. But,
different organization. I mean,
I understand it's a different organization, but
there's no reason to have this loyalty. They gave him a shot. They gave him a fair shot.
It's this strong little feeling that I have of David Stearns has a player in pre-arb and he wants to see, the years of control and see if you get the progression in that way, which I understand because that's kind of the way that you build up a roster with some of these guys in pre-arb. But the Mets have a lot of these guys in pre-arb right now on their roster right now that could be major league contributors or are contributors, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Angel Acuna. Like they have a lot of these young guys which have showed something at the major league level. With Baty, they just haven't. He really has not. And I think that's really all we have to really cover in regards to that. We could go back to a little bit of with Juan Soto. I do only want to be live for about an hour here because I feel like we just continue to repeat ourselves over and over again. But I mean, this is just, it's nuts. It's nuts. I'm waiting for this to end, and most likely, I think this ends Sunday. This is if I may make a prediction, it's going to end Sunday, a little bit late on Sunday is when we get an answer. But we are still, today's Friday, so we still got 48 hours until then. And let's just say that is a long timeline. I'm not sure if we will be live tomorrow. It all depends on if something crazy happens once again. But geez, I'm ready for this thing to end. And hopefully we can get an answer. Hopefully it is a good one. But right now, boy, I am wiped. I am definitely wiped in this whole entire situation. And to be honest, when it comes to Juan Soto, if they were to sign him, the Mets still have so much work to do afterwards. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy. We are continuing to hear all of these rumors about, oh, well, this should be in favor for the Mets, and then it's not, and then this. And to be honest, I will tell you right now, the poly market thing that I just put up, someone just posted an update of this. Let me show it. Let me show it to everybody of this update of what we have now on this poly market thing. It's already changed. It's already going downwards. It's already going downwards.
Yeah, that is way over 100%.
I mean, that is just nuts. I mean,
I don't know
it is
what
way
that's
over
out
100.
of. Yeah,
it is way over 100%. Like the percentages are a little bit off. I think that they're kind of just going off of like the rate or something. I'm not really sure how they're really doing it because again,
as if math wasn't confusing enough for me. Now I'm extra confused.
Yeah. But like it's just going back and forth right now, and this is all just based off of like social media stuff. But we really just don't know. I don't think anybody really knows shit at this current moment. It's all really just hypotheticals at this current, thing.
What is that? Is that people like betting? Like what or like how is that doing that?
Maybe I think it's based off of news, maybe
Mhm.
based off of, different pieces of data. I wish I could tell you. I really
Mhm.
wish I could tell you in that way. Is it percentages? Is it rates? That's the same thing. Jesus Christ. Is it percentages? Is it probability? Is it just betting odds? I mean, I have no idea what it goes off of, but I'm just here to deliver the data. Nobody shoot the messenger, like I said. But this is getting nuts. Let's just say that. But in regards to, we already covered Baty. We did see that the Mets did acquire a right-handed pitcher in Sean Harney in for international pool money, I believe. I don't know if the Mets getting international pool
No,
money
I think they had
back,
to
or they're
give up the
sending
pool
it.
money to get him.
Interesting, very
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know.
And which not supposed to trade with Tampa, but they keep doing it. They get along. I guess it's interesting.
You never know.
Yeah,
I
I will say,
again,
there's
it's
some questions
nuts.
about Pete. I just,
Oh,
I,
Pete, yeah.
I can't remember where I saw it, but it was saying that I think it might have been Heyman or someone that, you know, as far as a first baseman, we've talked about this. You're already 30. You had a down year. You're not going to have this hot market. And I feel like before the offseason started, we said the teams that make the most sense, Mariners, Astros, those would be good targets for Pete Alonso. Those teams are not in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. So Juan Soto shouldn't be holding up Pete that much unless it was the Yankees. Other than that, they're not. It's not. There's not too much that's really preventing him
Yeah.
from getting signed. So I feel like he's not. And honestly, I keep saying this, but I think he's going to get a deal very similar from the Mets to what the Mets originally offered him. I think they might give him the same deal, and he might have to take it. But it's all said
Yeah.
and done, because I just don't see a team topping that, and they shouldn't top it because it's a fair deal. You shouldn't go more than 7 years, no doubt about it. And like we said, first baseman, they could just they're so limited. Like they can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that right now, not many of the teams, like you said, are in the Juan Soto mix. I don't think any of those teams that we mentioned are in the Corbin Burns mix either. Like none of them
Maybe
are. So
Toronto. I can see
maybe
Toronto
Toronto
just
is because they
desperate
just,
just because they want to give away a ton of money. Like, oh, we'll give the next best player, which
yeah,
would be Corbin Burns. But
yeah,
other than that, like it's
yeah.
not
It,
it's not
it's
the
possible that
Dodgers.
maybe he's just not getting the offers that he expected he would, or maybe it's
Which is
possible
why I
that
thought he should have accepted that deal that he got. I thought it was very fair. I didn't think the Mets lowballed him at all. I think based
hmm,
off of what first basemans get, that was totally fair. It really was.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we all knew he was going to go to free agency, and he's testing the free agent market. I've talked about it many, many times before. I'm good keeping Pete, and I'm also good without him. Again, I feel like there's other flexibility ways that we can do, but not going into a non-premium position. But I think that when it comes to, Pete's market, I mean, this is kind of true. I mean, he definitely played himself. He definitely did. But we all knew that he was going to go to free agency, and he just did not really have that great of a year. He listen. I think that when it comes to Pete Alonso, I think that there are players that do get a postseason run type of contract. We've seen that happen before. It's just so hard to identify it with a power hitting first baseman.
He had a pretty good postseason. Like he
He
had
did.
a
Yeah.
moment like per series, but he didn't have like this generational run of like
No.
just carrying the team and like other great postseason runs we've seen in the past that have led to big contracts. He didn't
He
have one
didn't
of
have the
those.
postseason that Mark Vientos had. Let me say
That is
that.
true. I mean, that is very true, especially against the Dodgers. Like he was all right. I mean, he wasn't like, oh my gosh, max money, like give it to him now.
He was an oh my god.
Exactly.
So
There you go.
I'm
So overall, I mean, that's the thing is that like he made up some money in the postseason, but during the regular season, you feel like he lost a lot. So how much did he gain compared to how much he lost during the
it's
regular season?
it's not a position I'm gonna shell money out for.
Yeah,
I think
especially at that
it's
age.
just
At
especially
30,
at that age,
at 30, you already know you're
at that
playing with
position
fire.
in general, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean,
Yeah.
at that position, I mean, to be honest, there's only one first baseman that I think will ever be worth 200 million in any way. And that, I mean, maybe even in a stretch, if maybe he does have another, doesn't have a great year, but Vlad Jr. is probably the next guy, or like the only guy that should be worth that because he's younger. So again, I mean, it's a different type of thing as right now. And to be honest, I would not blink an eye if if the Mets were to end up getting by some miracle Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Then I'm like, okay, bye, Pete.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
I'm
know.
sorry. It's
Mhm.
not hard. It's not to say, it's not. There's no hard feelings in that way. It's not personal, but it's like, I'm fine with him and I'm fine without him. Like I said.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Vlad Jr. stuff yet. I've seen people talk about the possibility of him being traded, and I understand it, but I feel like if the Blue Jays are telling you that we're offering a bunch of money to Juan Soto, if we don't get him, we're
Yeah.
offering a bunch of money to Corbin Burns, and we already have a bunch of money committed, they want to win now. So trading Vladimir Guerrero Jr. now does not help you win now. So that's kind of where
Which is
I'm a little
stupid
torn
because
on
they
that.
shouldn't even be in the Juan Soto
They should.
conversation if I
No,
were the Blue
they have a
Jays,
lot
but
they have a lot to work on. But I
they
just
have a
don't
lot of
think
issues.
I
Yeah.
just don't think they're just going to give in like that. I just don't think they're going to
Yeah.
give him away, so to speak, for
Oh,
prospects.
I'm 100% prepared. I'm not prepared. I'm a 100% expecting, this to go kind of like how the Rockies treated the whole thing with Trevor Story. I'm not saying Trevor Story is like different players, different thing, but like, where they should have traded him, they didn't. And they just look like idiots because when they go onto the market, most likely they're not coming back because we know that Vlad Jr. is going to run a hot bargain. He's gonna be a hot commodity, not hot bargain. He's not McCann. But when it comes to a guy like Vlad Jr., I mean that's the type of guy that I would definitely pursue that as compared to somebody else on the market such as Pete Alonso, who again Pete Alonso's really good. He is a good hitter. He's a great player. But it's a different circumstance right now. It really is.
Well,
is
I mean, they need to decide.
Friends?
I mean, like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after next season, so they've got to make a decision on what they're going to do there. Like, if they don't get any stars this offseason, then maybe they trade him like at the deadline or something. I don't know. Like,
I don't
it's
know.
just very odd to me. Like
They should,
or
they
they could just
should.
re-sign him now, which is something that they should be doing with their money. So. I mean, I don't know.
Then you also have Bo Bichette.
Yeah, that's another one that's like.
Is it true that Vlad and Soto are like best friends? I don't know if they're best friends,
but
did they play together?
Friends.
Did they play together?
They're both Dominican
on the Dominican team.
They both are Dominican. I don't know. Did Vlad play? I don't think Vlad played in the most recent one. Did he? I feel like he sat it out, but.
They were
Soto and Marte are friends. We saw them chat up at the home run derby a couple years ago. So I don't think that's going to be the deciding factor.
91 people, 5 likes. We're actually at 19 likes at this current moment, but we do appreciate that of you putting.
But let's act like it's 5, so everyone feels bad and hits the like button.
Let's act like actually, it's 0. None of you guys liked it, and we are really.
Upset.
It's really
We're
unfortunate that you guys did that.
Yeah. It's worse than having coal in my stocking. Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jewish. I'm the Jewish one here, but you know what? I agree with that statement. Madeline is coming in here saying, do you think we'll know before the winter meetings?
That's what they've been saying.
The day, it's either before or the day of is when we're going to get an announcement. It was promised by the great Jeff Passan, which everybody, worships in that way, from ESPN, the top reporter on social media. So we'll see. Again, I'm expecting that. I think Sunday is going to be the day that he announces it. If it's tomorrow, great. To be honest, the next stream that we do probably will be the announcement. To be honest, because I feel like unless something insane happens, where like the Mets become like 5th place in the bidding or something, we'll be like, what the hell happened? But other than that, I think that we will end up skipping tomorrow for Saturday, unless something crazy. And then we will be able to do Sunday, either late tonight or tomorrow. I mean, you never know. We'll see.
Oh, there
John
we
coming in
go. Now we're
here with
talking.
the 499. Do you think that the Mets will make one big move this offseason if they lose out on Soto? I definitely do believe that they will do something. I don't know what it's going to be, whether it is a trade or a big signing. Thank you so much for the 5.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you consider big. Like I feel like we talked about,
Yeah,
like if you don't get Soto, I mentioned I think it was off air to Carson that I feel like Willie
yeah,
Adames is something that the Mets might
probably.
really consider if they don't get Soto. So do you consider Adames a big move? Would you consider a Santander a big move? They will still be doing things to upgrade the ball club. I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of what comes out. Whether they get Soto,
they
don't get
have to.
Soto, they have to. Like you said, they still have to
Yeah,
make moves to improve the team. And especially like we talk about rotation, they got to do something. I hope it's not all reclamation projects that has been reported and what have you, but they still need to, I think, at least number two. We got to get at least a
yeah.
number two pitcher on this team.
Yeah, at least a frontline worthy type of arm. And I mean, we'll see what happens, whether it is, retaining Alonso or retaining Manaya, which could be very possible. We saw them give them the qualifying offer, so maybe they're still in that market. I mean, in regards to Pete Alonso, and the best way that I can put it, to kind of close it out here, and then we'll get into, maybe some viewer questions from the beginning here. But when it comes to Pete Alonso, right now I feel like it's just, let's wait out Juan Soto. Whatever happens with Juan Soto, then we'll get to you, Pete. Because I don't think that his market is heating up at this current moment. I think that his market exists. We know that there's probably teams that have called and are definitely putting things in for him. Right now, I've heard that Heyman has been saying many times, wow, another Boris client. But when it comes to, you're starting to see a little bit of a connection here, guys. But when it comes to guys like Pete Alonso, I'm still seeing that the Mets are the favorite to sign him. So we'll see. We saw that the Nationals were in for that. The Mariners were reported to be interested in Alonso. To be honest, I don't think Houston is going to pay for another first baseman because they're already doing that with Jose Abreu, which was a disaster of a deal. Who could have saw that coming? But when it comes to the Pete Alonso market, I mean, right now, Burns is a Boris Glide, right? Correct?
Yes, that sounds
Yes.
right.
So he's probably, is Alonso third on that list right now of Boris
I would
clients?
say
Like,
so. Since Snell's off the
probably.
board, yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. If there's anybody else, I don't
Yeah.
know. Because, like, in terms of ranking of Boris clients right now, I don't think that there's anybody that I would put above. And maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe there is another. Is there another pitcher? Maybe
No, no, I think Snell was the
No.
other big one.
Yeah, Snell, Burns,
There's.
Soto, and
I don't think
Alonso.
Bregman's represented by Boris.
Bregman is represented by. So
Okay,
he's fourth
yeah,
on the pecking order.
you can
right now.
make Bregman above him.
Yeah, I guess you could put Bregman over. Yeah, and also that's more of just the positional value, of course, because
Exactly.
third basemen are worth more than first baseman.
Of course.
We never know. I'm hoping that they don't go into the Alex Bregman market, which I don't expect them to do because I think they have enough infielders in this current moment where they're not going to look at it. But I do think that there are going to be there is going to be another move made in the outfield, whether it is Soto or the pivot from Soto in the outfield, because I do think that they're going to try and limit what's going to go on with Starling Marte. I don't know if they're going to trade him, but I feel like you're going to have some limits in regards to what has been going on with him in the last year of his contract. But
yeah, I could see Marte going along the lines of, I mean, let's say, hypothetical Mets get Soto and they do make Marte the DH because there's nowhere else in the outfield to put him. Like I've said before, your DH needs to hit a home run. And if we're in like late May and he's not hit a home run yet, I could see like a Robinson Cano situation where they just cut him for the season. Like they gave him a chance. It didn't work. They just cut him and say, we'll just move on.
You never know. I mean, I'm just I'm just waiting for this whole thing to end before we address the whole thing that goes on with Marte. And then, pretty much everything else regarding Alonso and everything with that. I did mention to you, what was it, yesterday, of who I think they're going to pivot to outfield wise. And we will get into that if it ends up that Juan Soto does not end up a Met. But I think that you can feel confident or not feel confident back and forth because this is the roller coaster ride we've been on. But for Mets fans out there, nobody knows what is going on right now. The only guys that know is probably Boris, Soto, maybe a little bit of John Heyman, but he is just spewing. He is talking as much as everybody is allowing him to talk. So take it all with a grain of salt. We don't know what is going to happen. We are seeing real reports, fake reports. So much is going on. If you don't have yourselves wrapped in social media for sports, let's just say, if you're not wrapped up in social media, we have to because we do our show. But if you're not at this current moment, I recommend after the Soto signing, then you can go onto social media and start looking at that because it is a cesspool right now of craziness. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a very exhausted way for how it really is. But we'll see. Walter coming in. I really respect Marte, but he has to go. And listen, we know what Marte was capable of, and he gave us a lot of value, per that contract. But, in terms of, building the team of what he was taking up, I think, I would like to see them move him. I'm not expecting it to happen. To be honest, I am expecting him to be one of the considerers for the DH, unfortunately, which I'm dreading, but you never know. But, Juan Soto comes into the mix. Maybe something else finds a way where, maybe he's a little bit more expendable. It's very similar to what we talked about when the almost deal of Carlos Correa happened. We saw that it made, a guy like Baty expendable and some of the guys in the rotation expendable to make the team a little bit younger.
Wasn't Escobar? Do they still have Escobar?
Escobar.
Yeah, I think he was
Escobar
the most likely to be traded. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they could have moved Baty to left field or something like that. And then they talked about like a possible DH as well. I mean, there was tons of talks in that. And then 20 days later after that announcement, it all fell apart. And then you ended up with, what was it, Tommy Pham and then Dominic Leone or something. That was pretty much it for the rest of that offseason. So it definitely turned into a different direction. So that type of pivotal move, not really a pivotal move, but just a monumental move, which is going to be, because it's probably going to be over a $750 million that he gets at this rate. Jukebox Joe saying, what outfield do you see them going for? Right now, I see them going for Juan Soto. That's all I'm going to say at this current moment. But let's be honest, Miguez. My God, I can't do this. I just can't. But as for some other things, guys, we'll let your comments roll in for about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to hop off here. Again, we're just continuing to repeat ourselves, just awaiting the announcement from Juan Soto. Oh, man, can this please just end? That's all I really ask. Frank, if there's anything else that you want to mention or talk about, here is your chance. I have a headache. I'm just letting you know of my current situation.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said, we're just waiting for some kind of resolution, just the announcement of where he goes. It'll be very fascinating, you know what I mean? But, I just want to touch on one more thing. I put it like in the chat, but,
yeah.
The Dodgers, they're going to pay for what they're doing someday, I mean, because as of right now, like 2035 to like 2043, their payroll's already almost $100 million. And while we're very upset that like Ohtani's getting paid $2 million now, in the years like 2034 through 2043, he's getting paid $68 million. So it's like when you do sign somebody to at least $700 million, you're going to be paying a ridiculous amount per year at some point. If it's not now, it's later. So deferrals can help, but it's not a just automatic like, oh, well, we don't have to worry about what it's going to do for our future moves. Now, the Dodgers are lucky that they already won their World Series this year, and I'm sure they could definitely win more while Ohtani and these guys are on their team. But it's still a slippery slope that you're walking. You really hope that you're able to cash in while you're paying them that cheap amount, and you already got your championship before they're older, not as effective, and you're still paying them because That's the other thing too, is we're also not talking about Sessions, we're talking about 15 years, and he's already 26. So he's going to be paid when he's 40 and above, a little above 41 or so. So he's not going to be a $70 million player when he's 40, but you're going to be paying him like he is. Maybe, and you'll be paying him more now than you are. You'll be paying him more then than you are now. So those are just some of the things to kind of keep in the back of your mind, is that, like, well, right now it might look good, but if we're doing this podcast for 15 years from now, we're like, man, I can't wait that Soto contract's up, so we can get some moves here. Like, we'll see what happens. But, that's just kind of one thing to consider, is that right now it may seem like, oh, it's just deferrals, but you're still going to have to pay it at some point. Whether it's not now, it's later. Like, you're going to get to it. Once it's that amount, you could only camouflage it or cover it up so much.
Listen, down the line, if it ends up getting us the hardware,
exactly. Which, for as desperate as we are, we'll take it.
We want it. I mean, we definitely want it. Walter saying Jim Riley suggested that center fielder for the Mets in trade. I think you're talking about Luis Robert Jr.
Did that, but
they got their center fielder. They got their center fielder. Yeah, they got their center fielder in Jose Siri. So that's definitely in Jose Siri, and Tyrone Taylor are probably going to be splitting the job there, which is, again, defense up the middle. We've talked about this many times. But, I think, right now it's all kind of just in this standstill where, rumors can go through, but it's all going to go through Juan Soto. And I don't know who it was who said it. Was it Ken Rosenthal, maybe, who's actually been silent these past few, this day and a half, which is weird. Ken Rosenthal said, saying that once Soto signs, the floodgates are going to open. And I'm sure they will, because of him being at the top of the market, the way that he is, of the level of player that he is, because a lot of things are going to probably be, resolved in that way, because a lot of the teams in the Juan Soto market, maybe they're also in the Teoscar Hernandez market, or maybe they're also in the Anthony Santander market, or maybe they're also in the pitching market. So there's a lot of things that are going to be fixed together. Of course, the Mets' pursuit of Soto, I think that they'll go a little bit of a different direction, but we'll see what happens. First, Soto has to sign, and hopefully it is in the orange and blue. And hopefully this stressful gauntlet of craziness will end, and we can get back to our regularly scheduled program of just bullshitting about the Mets. I mean, that's literally it. But as for usual, Soto Watch continues. We'll see what happens. If he does sign at any point, we will be going live for it. And hopefully it is positive news in that regard. Now, as for everybody in here, thank you guys so much for watching, listening, coming in here and tuning in live. For those of you watching on playback, for those of you watching right now who came in for a little bit or stayed for the entire stream, make sure to give the stream a thumbs up, subscribe for content pretty much every day at this current moment, but we also will have some extra videos going out throughout the off season. We have our co-host Andrew with his off-season simulation, but that kind of has to be determined when Soto signs to kind of centerpiece everything around that. But other than that, follow us on X, on TikTok, follow all of us individually. The links are all in the description. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Some of you guys in the chat. Rosie, one of our loyal viewers. Walter coming in here, who was here yesterday, I believe. Jukebox Joe, thank you for coming on. Madeline, Saint Vintage, Brian Lynch. Let's see, anybody else that I put out here? Goomba, thank you very much. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, one of our loyal viewers. J Raider Nation, love that name. Mo Money, thank you. G Wong, thank you for coming in. Steezy Bra, great name. CJ Crypto, Nacho Libre, great name as well. Michael Osborne, all of you guys, thank you guys so much. Stevie Mack as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next time. We don't know when that will be, but as per usual, one thing we do know, let's go Mets. Soto Watch continues. We'll see you guys next time.